Okay, so World War II is finally over. You can almost hear this collective sigh of relief around the entire globe, right? But that peace, it was incredibly fragile. Over the next few minutes, we're going to trace the path through those really critical years of fear and division, the ones that led straight to the creation of one of the most powerful military alliances in history, NATO.
Just try to picture it. It's 1945. The guns have finally gone silent. Victory's been declared. But, you know, instead of this huge global celebration, there's this deep sense of unease settling in. The old world is completely shattered, and honestly, no one has a clue what's going to rise up from the ashes. This wasn't really an ending. It felt more like a terrifying new beginning. And to really get why this new beginning felt so terrifying, you have to understand the sheer scale of the devastation. I mean, we're talking about a world that was literally brought to its knees.
Look at this number. Over 50 million people, soldiers, civilians, all gone. It's not just a statistic, you know? It's a number so huge it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around. It was this deep collective trauma that was going to cast a shadow over every single decision that came next.
So what did this reality look like? Well, Europe's great cities were just rubble. Its economies were completely shattered. And into this giant power vacuum steps the Soviet Union. See, as the Red Army was pushing the Nazis back, they didn't just leave, they stayed. And they basically absorbed Eastern Europe into their orbit. For Western nations like the US and Britain, this didn't feel like liberation at all. It looked a whole lot like a new kind of occupation.
All this growing fear, this creeping dread, it needed a name. It needed an image that could really capture this new, stark division of the world. And believe me, it was about to get one.
The whole world was kind of holding its breath. That alliance that had just defeated Hitler, yeah, it was already cracking. Just a year after the war, one of its main architects gets up on a stage in Fulton, Missouri, of all places, and gives a speech that would go on to define the next 50 years. And there it is. With just 9 words, Winston Churchill gives the West this powerful, terrifying metaphor, the Iron Curtain. It wasn't just a political line on a map. It was a symbol of oppression, of secrecy, of this fundamental split in ideology between the democratic West and the communist East. The threat wasn't abstract anymore. Now, it had a name. So, with the threat now so clearly defined, the world basically looked to the one country that had the power to actually respond, the United States. And America's answer? It would be a complete 180 from its entire history. For decades, America's whole vibe was isolationism, this deep-seated idea of, let's not get tangled up in Europe's problems. But World War II just shattered that illusion. It wasn't just about physical safety anymore. It was about economic survival. It was about geopolitical reality. A devastated Europe, left on its own, could totally fall under Soviet influence, creating a world that was just fundamentally at odds with American interests. So America sheds that isolationist past and steps into this brand new, pretty uncomfortable role, leader of the free world. And this wasn't just a change in attitude. It became official, declared policy. President Harry Truman knew that Churchill's warning needed a firm, a concrete response. And that response was the Truman Doctrine. This was basically a blank check of support for any nation that was threatened by communism. It was a clear line in the sand. America was no longer just watching from the sidelines. It was now actively promising to step in and contain Soviet expansion anywhere on the globe. So, in just 3 short, breathtaking years, all the pieces were put on the board for a totally new kind of global conflict, a Cold War. Think about how fast this all happened. In 1945, the war ends. By 46, the division has a name. And by 47, the United States has committed itself to fighting that division all over the world. It was this incredibly fast cascade of events that locked the world into 2 completely opposing camps. So, what do you do when a doctrine just isn't enough? You've got this very real fear of Soviet tanks rolling across Europe, and you've got an American promise to help. The logical next step was to make that promise official, to turn it into a real military pact. And that is exactly what will become NATO. And all of this leaves us with the central question of the entire era. The lines were drawn, the sides were chosen, and that Iron Curtain was firmly in place. Everybody wanted peace, but the very things they were doing to get that peace seemed to be making a future war almost inevitable. So how do you protect the world when it's already broken in 2?